Hi YouTube, and welcome to week 6 of Swing Big, a group focused on reawakening and redefining masculinity in our modern world. Over the last few weeks, we've broken down and redefined masculinity as men who reject passivity, accept responsibility, lead courageously, and expect a higher reward. We've spent time exploring rejects passivity and accepts responsibility. Today we'll dive deeper in what it means to lead courageously. Let's tackle this in two parts before tying them together: courage and leadership as men. Let's start with courage. What is it? Some see courage as the absence of fear, but I think this sets the wrong standard. Fear is good. Fear is natural. Fear should not be avoided. We find ourselves stagnant if we are unable and unwilling to confront fear. With that in mind, I'd define courage as the ability to proceed despite the presence of fear. Courage is feeling that fear, acknowledging that fear, and intentionally continuing on in the face of that fear. The thumbnail from this week is a picture from a trip that my buddies and I take each year. We go somewhere out in the middle of nowhere, not really bringing enough supplies, not really being ready for it. And we go and we confront our fears. We're out. If something happens, we're on our own. The reality is we all live in this place of fear, whether it's out in the woods by yourself or in your daily jobs, in your relationships, in your roles as parents. As a child, my family ran a tight ship. The expectation of perfection was so high that the fear of failure shrunk the world. Even with the generational pendulum swinging, I find myself as an adult hesitant to jump into the unknown. After all, it's safer to pursue the known path, the comfortable path, right? Over the last 3.5 years as a dad, this is an area where I've been incredibly intentional to chart a different course for my son. In doing so, I've come to redefine and reshape the fears that have held me back in the past. The reality is that most of the things we are afraid of, at worst, are a minor inconvenience. Honestly, there are very few mistakes in life that cost us more than an hour or a couple $100. A spilled drink or a dented wall when your kid's goofing around? Some cleaning products and $30 of drywall supplies will fix it. But how many dads have lost their marbles here? A car repair you want to try but are afraid you might fail? Worst case is $200 to tow it to a shop and you can't get it back together, so you pay the same amount regardless. Actually, when I was filming, I think it was the second video when I was in the garage, I crashed the truck into our wheelbarrow that was holding firewood for the wood stove and put a nice round dent in the front of the truck. But at the end of the day, in 20 years, when it has 300,000 miles on it, it's going to be in a scrapyard anyways. So why let that fear of something happening hold you back? Don't get me wrong, there are certainly areas of life where you can make huge mistakes, choosing the wrong spouse, unprotected sex, and so on. But a vast, vast, vast majority of mistakes will not alter the course of your life. But living in the fear of these mistakes certainly will. My son will occasionally tell us he's afraid, or he'll fall down and start crying, and I'll ask, are you hurt, or are you afraid? If he says he's afraid, I'm intentional to acknowledge the fear, letting him know that it's okay to be afraid. It's good to be afraid. But then I'll ask him what he's going to do about it. We got him a bike for Christmas, and he absolutely ate it in the parking lot the next day. When I ran up to him, he told me he wasn't hurt, but he was afraid. After I acknowledged that it's scary to fall off a bike, he said he wanted to ride a bit more and then go home for a snack. I feel this is where and how leading and courageously tie together. My role as a man, as a dad, is to rationalize my own fears and move forward, or to create an environment and opportunity where someone else can do the same. My role as a dad is not to prevent my son from riding a bike because I'm afraid he'll fall, but to let him fall in a controlled environment and then encourage him to tackle that fear. My role as an employee is to overcome my fear and speak up when groupthink is moving the organization in the wrong direction. My role as a man is to acknowledge my fear and have the grit to move forward in the face of that fear, to lead courageously. A real man rejects passivity, accepts responsibility, leads courageously, and expects a higher reward. Each of these require continuous effort as we seek to fill our role as men in the world. Next week, we'll wrap up our exploration of this definition as we dive into what it means to expect a higher reward. What does this mean to you? And where does this reward come from? Thanks for joining us today at Swing Big. Please provide your thoughts in the comment section and subscribe if you'd like to be notified as new videos are posted each week. Prepping the content each week has been really insightful and forced me to look at my role as a man differently. I feel like we have some momentum building as we aim to redefine masculinity, reawaken masculinity. So let's make sure we lead courageously so that we're able to once again step up to the plate and swing big. Thank you.